best, and yes, we are the very best.
$7 popping collars, eating shrimp, $5 met some girls from Guatemala, now they trying to holler.
Now before they wouldn't bother, now I'm trying to be a scholar, cause she giving all the knowledge to me.
Knowledge to me.
Doing homework every night of the week.
Night of the week.
Like she chillin' up at college with me.
College with me, but we cruising, man. Rolling up at 4:30. Kush same color as a Kobe Road jersey, or a throwback worthy. Giraffe ass high, fresh breeze just passing us by. Cause I'm cruising on a Sunday afternoon. I got my good shoes on, ain't got no bad news. Here's what you say to the lady. Let me squeeze you, oh, let me hold you, oh, let me squeeze you, oh, let me hold you. Why? Cause I don't wanna leave this party, baby, without you. What you waiting for? Hop in the ride. Okay. What you waiting for? Hop in the ride. So I arrive at a party at 9. I reside beside Sim, think when we fly. Time's on our side, but look again, then it's 11 p.m. Chalk it on the board. Time to sin, let's begin. Hey, you kinda cute, and I got the loot to befriend both you and your girlfriend too.
You single Tim Jones?
Well, that depends. Just then she turned to a friend and she said,
I really like him.
Say word.
I really like him.
Oh yeah.
I really, 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 really like.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back in the house of BCC TV on the platform of JCT Multimedia. Ladies and gentlemen, it's always a pleasure. I want to tip my hat to the executive director, none other than Big Al, making it do what it do as chief engineer here on this platform. I have to my right, your left out there in TV land, joining us once again, the outstanding and sensational one from Chicken Your Biz, none other than Danielle Daniels. How are you today, Miss Lady?
Pretty well. How are you?
Good, good, good. Praise is a wonderful day, as someone used to say on television, in the neighborhood.
Oh, yeah. Mr. Rogers.
I have the outstanding Mr. Francisco in the house today, as well as Latrice Godley. And we're going to open up here on the subject matter of carelessness and cautiousness. And then I'm going to throw you guys down to the panel, where Ms. Daniels will be joining those other two outstanding co-hosts of JCT TV. And I'll come back to close out the show a little bit later on. With that being said, I'm going to take the subject matter of carelessness and cautiousness and throw it directly into the lap of Danielle Daniels.
Well, when it comes to being carelessness and cautiousness, it's about defining your habits. First and foremost, they become values. And then you look at those things through life as something that's going to tell you to either make you or break you as a person. So when you're dealing with the value system and you're being cautious, you're being mindful of others and how they maneuver with their thoughts, their actions, and how they think before speaking. Some people would say that is a necessity to have, but some people would say that it's not a necessity to have. When it comes to people saying that you are doing things in a cautious manner, you are aware of your surroundings. So being aware of your surroundings is mindfulness, and that is being cautious and careful, not careless. When you're careless, then you care less about those around you, and you care less about your attitude. And then your attitude becomes what is known as regretful, and then you'll have decisions that you made based upon your own opinion, which is your own perspective, and how you assume others are going to maneuver for you or with you. Instead of thinking that everyone is against you, you can think like outside of the box, for example. And that is a business mindset. So those are a few things.
So you're saying that cautiousness is a necessity in order to avoid carelessness?
Yes.
Okay, now let me ask you this. In your vision and your mindset, right, what would be some of the things or some of the cautious steps you can take in avoiding carelessness or mistakes, errors, and so forth?
Thinking about your thoughts, second guessing them sometimes, but not often. Meaning, how is this going to help you, or how is it going to hinder you as a person? Okay. Or will it affect someone else, their outcome, or their attitude and the way they move?
Okay. So when you say caring for others in the process, right, of avoiding carelessness, how do you implement that to an individual who's not aware?
Well, to implement that to an individual who is not aware is to acknowledge it first and foremost by telling them that they are doing something that is pertaining to someone else's outcome, and their attitude is changing how they are moving or thinking. And it could be in a negative aspect or it could be in a positive aspect. If you're not aware of something, then of course it's going to be in a negative aspect. That's how they would assume it to be. But if your assumptions are like that, then you have to change your habits. And to change your habits is to change your way of thinking first and foremost.
Okay, so everything in life, because I heard you use those two terms, positive and negative, is either positive or negative, all the way down to the weather, to our movement, our choices in life is based on positivity and negative movement or thought processes. To avoid any unnecessary incidents, challenges, or anything else in the scope and the sphere of the earth, right? What would you suggest mankind today doing in order to get on a better path? And I don't want to say righteous so much, but to get on a better path so that we can stop some of the chaos that's going on, not just here in America, but around the world.
Pointing the finger at other people when you know that you have to be responsible for your own actions.
Okay.
So you have to think about, how your actions are being portrayed and the vibes they're giving off.
Okay.
And then the other portion is knowing that what you're doing can cause an impact on someone else, and how you're moving can cause an impact as well. So let's say, for example, you're going to be prompt, you're going to be on time, punctual. That means that you're always on time for something, no matter what it is.
So punctuality is a key ingredient, because I know that we've been speaking about the inconsistency of punctuality, right? So sort of sum up this particular session with that right there.
Being inconsistently punctual means that you can be on time, but yet you're not on time for that specific portion. So if you're going to be on time, you should always be on time in every regard, not in just one instance.
Outstanding. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to jump over to some remote coverage, and we'll be right back and join you on the platform of The Few with Jatrice Godley.
Including communities traditionally underserved by the publishing industry. To serve those communities, you kind of need to be representative of the wider world. Also, about 30% of the books that we sell published in the US are not sold in the US. We're serving a wide world of readers, a wide diversity of readers. So to do all that, it's really, it just makes sort of common sense in a way to be diverse at different levels of the organisation, so we can actually understand the readers that we're trying to serve. If we don't have diversity in our own organisations, then we're a monoculture. If we're a monoculture, we can't serve a variety of cultures. So it all just makes good common sense to me. So in terms of our own strategy at Chair, it's something very, very important to us, one of the pillars of our strategy. We know we're not diverse, we white men sitting on stage here. So we know all the ways that we're not diverse, and we're really looking at it and working on it, and trying to make sure that we are representative of the readers we serve. And it doesn't seem to me that it should be contentious.
I don't think I could do much better than that. I mean, the only thing I'll say is that we certainly are not going to back down on the commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Jatrice, and I'm here with Danielle and Mr. Francisco, and we're all here today having to enjoy our good day. And our topic today is carelessness and cautiousness. Now, I want to know from both of y'all opinion about what those two words mean to you guys when you hear that.
Well, great question. For me, being careless is just doing things without thinking. So you just want to jump right in without giving some thought to do proper action and have according to plan. And then cautious, and instead of being cautious, same concept. You just want to jump right in, being careless, and again, not thinking about nothing, which could dramatic accidents and then higher chance of bad things happening. But what do you think?
I think that carelessness is when you tell somebody you're going to do something and you don't do it, so you're not giving that person any advice or any heads up as to how you're moving. So you're being careless as to how their time frame is, and you're not giving yourself enough time either. You're just saying, okay, I'm going to do this, and we're going to rush right into it. Instead of saying, okay, guess what? I care about you, so I'm going to give you time to think about what we're doing today. It's that perspective. So it's like when you tell somebody, okay, I'm going to do this, then I'm being cautious of your feelings and how you feel about moving and what you're going to do later on.
Now, when I actually hear that, I'm thinking of the fact of me having to try to be careful with things, but it's like the cautiousness also, it's almost like they kind of go hand in hand when you really think about it. You're being cautious and being careful of everything, your actions, your thoughts, your movements, so that way you're not doing anything harmful to yourself or to others.
Right, because in terms of jumping to conclusion, or as they say, actions speak louder than words. Because either it shows that you're just uneducated or you don't care. It's a lot of different variables that come into those factors.
Right.
So in order to identify it, depending on the person, so no matter what, from a general perspective, because we don't got a lot of time, it's just like, okay, you simply don't care because you're not educated enough to actually put thought into it to really make a more educated response. So not wasting money, resources, or time.
But here's the kicker.
Actually be on point. But what do you think?
If you think about everything you both said, right?
Yeah.
Think about how a person grew up, right?
Yes.
Think about their value system. Think about the morals their parents taught them, right? So then you're going to think about, okay, so they were taught to care this way. It first stems from the mother, and then it trickles down to the person. So mother is really instilling in that party their whole personal identity.
To add to that, that's a good point. But it's not always the parents' fault, depending if they have a regular parent or a foster parent.
Well,
and then as they go to school, they develop their own personalities and traits. So they could be influenced by other factors outside of the household.
Right.
But what do you think, Jatrice?
I, first of all, love your thought process, because that's right where I was thinking of. And two, yes, it actually does stem from yourself and also the parent. The parent is the one that actually is trying to be able to raise you in a way where you're going to be great for yourself in the society. And then after that, when you reach a certain age, that's when they're actually are helping guide you to becoming the person that they're hoping that you become as an individual.
Yeah.
Right. And then on top of that, in regards to what you said and you said, you're going to take those two and combine them to your experiences. You're not going to allow someone else to tell you how to think for you.
Yep.
That's your mindfulness and your cautiousness of your awareness. Self-awareness is most important when, one, going to school, two, dealing with others outside of the household, and three, building your brand. You, your person, is your
That's a
own
good
brand. So you don't want somebody else giving you definition of yourself when you define who you are, and you don't allow anyone else to. That's the cautiousness and the carelessness. When you care less, you're caring less about someone else, and you're caring more about yourself in that regard.
And to my final note on that, the tricky part is if the person has autism disability, people like to abuse and take advantage of that. So that's another way that could trigger the person's thought process, as opposed to being cautious or careless and abusing and taking advantage of the innocent.
Unfortunately, I got to put your thought on hold for us to be able to
Right.
do the chicken bin.
Peace.
And we are back here at JCT Studios, where we are talking about what is known as carelessness and cautiousness. I am your host, Danielle Daniels, that chick in your biz, telling you what it really is. And today, it is going to be phenomenal. Why? Because we are thanking others from the set from earlier today at JCC and BCC, Jertrice and Francisco. So they have been talking about what is known as carelessness and cautiousness, how it affects life, how it affects you as a person. So think about how it affects you and your thought process. As Gandhi says, if you're going to think about it from one perspective, put it into another. That means your thoughts become words, your words become actions, and therefore you are responsible for those actions. So think about how responsibility plays into carelessness and cautiousness. When you are careless, you're caring less about what you're doing and caring more about what you're thinking. So that leads into procrastination and not being intentional. So when you think about all of those combined, you think about the very portion of the belief system, how you portray things first and foremost in your mind, and secondly in your very own heart. Why? Because people say that their emotions play a role in how they do things and how they feel is more important than what is real. So if they're going to say something that is important to them, then they would think about it 5 times and then they would do nothing about it on the 5th time. So if someone is having a dream, for example, and they dream that same dream about 4 to 5 times, then that dream is going to be somewhat important because they had these thoughts, they had imaginations, and yet they didn't act upon it. So if you're not going to act upon anything, then guess what? It's null and void at that point. So with that being said, we're going to toss it right back over to BCC. Stay tuned for more.
We're back, guys. So now let's get back to our subject matter. I told you to put your thought on pause, so I'm pausing you now.
Thank you for the intro. Appreciate that. So to finish what I was saying, so that's opposed to autism or any type of disability where people can abuse it, take advantage, as opposed to caution or being careless, not really trying to educate the younger individuals. Because then when you're misinformed about any subject matter, that's how people take advantage. And then as far as being cautious, there is no caution because you don't care about other people. You're just trying to gain more profit, whether it's finances or taking objects or whatever it pertains to. But what do you think?
Well, autism has a very broad and vague spectrum. There's a variety of people that would say, for example, their child is autistic, so they're going to put their child in a spectrum circle and tell that child, okay, well, you're limited to do certain things.
Right.
Instead of saying to that child, I can help you and not hinder you. So then what they're doing is telling you, okay, well, you're going to do this for the rest of your life, and then you're not going to be able to do anything else. That is a careless attitude that the parent is taking and pushing onto the child. So then that child becomes an adult thinking all their life they have a situation at hand. So if you think about it, then what you're going to do is say, you know what, I can grow from this, I can get stronger, and I will get stronger. So you're taking yourself out of that box and you're putting yourself into somewhere else, which is, I am better than what you say I am. You understand? So then you're not going to do anything else other than that.
And I agree with that because you do have some parents that are they don't fully understand. They are focused and trying to be very careful with their child in that situation, but not understanding that they're causing more harm than good. And that's only because they haven't broadened their horizons, or they never heard or experienced anything else that would actually benefit their child in any shape or form where they can actually be considered normal in society.
Right.
And what I say to that, the main thing is balance. Everything requires balance. So especially with parenting and foster parent, whatever, raising a child, you got to know how to balance it. Yes, be careful. Yes, stay off the streets, etc. But don't stop them for their own experiences, because if they hear it from other people, they're going to think it's right, because sometimes your friends are more than your family, depending on the circumstance.
Right.
So it could be contradicting. So you got to learn to be open-minded and teach them and not hold them back from life experiences. So that's in terms of being cautious and not too careless. Because you're being too careless, you can't stop them from living. So you got to know how to chemically balance the horizon and literally learn to work with the autism instead of trying to avoid the problem. But people don't see it that way because they only want finances or money from the system or whatever their mindset is. And people don't really fully understand how to do it. But what do you think?
It's not fully that they don't understand. It's the fact that they're not trying to learn anything. They're not trying to do the research to help their child. Instead, they're going to go outside and outsource it and rely on other people to give their child the same stigma instead of saying, you know what, I want to help my child. Again, the parent is the main factor in all situations. So they're not relying on themselves to gain the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to raise that child outside of the box. Instead, they're relying on their own iniquities, which is their own experiences from their own childhood, and that's not fair to the mother, the father, or the child, or their siblings for that matter. So everyone else is involved, and that is the carelessness is not cautiousness. So being mindful of other people, yes, you can talk about your peers, your friends, but you're not going to have those until you first learn how to communicate, which is learning how to listen with a full understanding. Understanding them is to first know that where they're coming from matters.
Yes.
How they feel matters, and what they think matters.
Right, and to finish that note, it's called entitlement because everybody thinks they're entitled. They know everything, but nobody is entitled to nothing. You know what you know, but you don't know everything. So you got to be willing to hear people out. And that goes back to judging a book by its cover when you don't really know what you're supposed to do. So that's why you always got to be open-minded. You won't be careless, and you can always be cautious. Go by what you know and always be open-minded. I'll end it with that.
So what's the actual negativity between the two, between carelessness and cautiousness?
Wrap it up.
And so with that being said, so carelessness, that you just gotta be more mindful of the decisions you make, and then cautious, be careful where you take it from, use your judgment, critical thinking skills, and put it together. That's how you handle that.
All right, and we'll be right back.
Sobroses. Fashion Boutique is where you will find high-end fashion designs. Sobrosesfashion.net is where you will find a great dress for the right price and person. Jill is the only mobile designer around. So book her now to come into your town. Call 203-893-9972. Advertisement by Danielle Daniels, the VP of Research and Marketing at JCT Multimedia. Her website is www.jctmagazine.com.
And we're back. I hope you guys actually enjoyed that wonderful coverage that we actually gave y'all, because I know that every time we do something, we always want to do it with some positivity and love, and it's also very educational as well. So
100%.
now back to our subject matter of carelessness and cautiousness. And like I was saying, that there's always a positive and a negative. We gave a lot of negative. Now, what is about the positive to being carelessness and cautiousness? Because sometimes even carelessness can actually be considered a positive thing depending on the circumstance and how there's actually a small positive outcome that comes with it.
So, great question. So the positive thing is, so as far as being cautious, that's with trying new things, something you never tried before. But as far as being cautious, don't let it be too extreme. Like trying new food, or maybe if you want to, gamble a little bit. But definitely be cautious with the gambling. Don't blow too much funds. But you definitely gotta set your boundaries, know when to cut off. Sometimes you can win a lot of money or things like that, or maybe meet some new friends, because things will always turn out better than expected.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. We hope you enjoyed the festivities of this evening, and we look forward to returning and bringing you more activity. And we want you not just to sit out there and absorb the information that we're doing our best to project to you. Not just absorb it, but retain it, and also to do your own research. Research is so easy to be done nowadays. You don't have to go to the library and spend 7 or 5 hours there. You can do research from your own mechanical and electronic devices, right? But with that being said, you have any suggestions? Sending the folks off this evening as to how we can be less careless, right, and through cautiousness be more productive.
Well, through cautiousness, you should use your mindset to think about how others would react to certain things and certain actions, certain thought processes. Because sometimes when your thoughts are being felt by those around you, then they can react in a certain manner and say, well, you're thinking this way, but I feel you moving towards a different aspect. So when you say things to certain people and certain entities, or you're not giving those entities enough attention, then you have to think about how you're going to maneuver through life and how you're going to be successful as a person, as an individual, and how your thought processes can affect not just yourself, but those around you, those next to you, those who are aware of your very own being. Wow. So think about that first and foremost, and then think about how your thoughts can affect your mental health as well, because that plays a role in it as well. When people say that, oh, my mental health isn't great today, it's because you yourself aren't great today. It's because you are telling yourself that, you know, you're in a negative state of mind, but when you wake up, you should always be in a positive state of mind because you're here. So having said that, it's...
Ladies and gentlemen, you know, it's said, and it has been said for centuries and thousands upon thousands of years, that life and death is in the power of the tongue. Them that love it, let them eat the fruit thereof. So we deal with positive affirmations in order to bring positive things into our life. So avoid at any cost and all costs ever speaking negativity from your mouth. Let it always be from a standpoint of building, taking anything from the prone to the perpendicular. In other words, have it stand in power, in truth, and in righteousness.
That's right.
With that being said, it's been a pleasure. We want to thank Big Al, the chief engineer. We want to thank Jatrice Golly, and we want to thank the outstanding Mr. Francisco. I'm Papa T. It has been Daniels. Success awaits us, folks. Keep it coming.